Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 25 shows Boruto making a deal with Momoshiki to defeat Jura. And I have to be curious as Boruto knows after his recent fight with Jura that he's not going to be able to defeat him one-on-one. There's no way he can't defeat him with the ninjutsu he's learned. There's no way that he can escape from him. There's no way that he can overpower Jura as he is right now, which is why he asks Momoshiki for his help. But then, is that going to be enough? You know what I mean? We've already seen Kawaki be able to go, I guess, toe-to-toe up against Jura. And while he didn't sustain any damage, who knows what could have happened if the fight prolonged. You know what I mean? So, I'm guessing in the situation that, maybe with Boruto's skills and with Momoshiki's strength, that is a combination of, possible to, actually defeat Jura, or at least, push him back far enough where they can actually do some damage to him. You know what I mean? And I guess combined with Kawaki and maybe Sarda, some of the other shinobi, they have a chance, but it really depends on what Jura can do or what he chooses to do next, right? What if he decides to increase his Shinju arsenal? You know what I mean? What if he gets other Shinju to help out in the battle, you know? What happens if he does this or if he does that, right? There are so many different variables that we have to consider and we have to think about when it comes to Jura, because he's still kind of an unknown, there's so much about his character that we don't know about. We don't know about, the origins of the Ten Tails. What is the Ten Tails? Is the Ten Tails, created? Is it born? Where do they come from? You know, there's so many things unwritten or unknown about it that maybe Momoshiki could give us some insight to, which is all the more reason I'm interested to see what Momoshiki thinks about Jura, or what he might be able to tell us about the Ten Tails or about Jura, you know? And would he see it as an adversary, or would he see it as a... Well, I guess Momoshiki thinks of everybody as lesser than him because he's a god, but maybe even more so the Ten Tails because it's just a beast, I guess. You know, I don't know. It's hard to put into exact words how they feel about each other or what they would do against one another. But what I do know is that should Boruto get a huge amount of strength from Momoshiki, Jura's going to be curious about that, and it might start raising some questions about the Otsutsuki for Jura and where he comes from and how he plans to fight against them. So with Momoshiki added to the equation, it could start raising some, red flags for Jura and start getting him curious about who are the Otsutsuki? What about this? What about that? Let me think about this. Let me think about that, So with that in mind, I'm just curious to see how Jura faces off against Momoshiki powered up Boruto, you know what I mean? Or Momoshiki talking to Jura. It'd be interesting to see. So we'll have to wait and see what the Mamushi is trying up next and how Jura's gonna handle going after the village or fighting in the village and whatnot. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But until then, let me know what you guys think. What do you think Jura would feel about Momoshiki, or learning about the Otsutsuki, or learning about his origins or where he comes from and stuff like that, Do you think he'd be more curious, or do you think it's I don't care about his past. He cares more about who he is today and what he chooses and stuff like that, Let me know what you guys think. But until then, until chapter 26, until we figure out further what we're gonna see from them, it's all up in the air right now. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Yeah,